Good morning and welcome to today's Back to Business, a series of webcasts and forums from the Chamber of Commerce to help our local businesses recover from the pandemic. We're grateful to Facebook for sponsoring this important series. With the pandemic extending into an unprecedented 6-month and no clear end date in sight, the Mountain View City Council recently voted to allow outdoor operations citywide. This means parking lots, public parks, and other areas can be used for businesses that were previously off limits, under certain guidelines, of course. With a wide range of businesses, activities, and types of use, businesses need to know what's available and what's expected. So here today to discuss the program in more detail and to take your questions is Tiffany Chu from the city's Economic Development Department and Stephanie Lum from Recreation. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Tiffany.
Thank you, Peter, and thanks to the Chamber for hosting us again on yet another Back to Business as we're working to support our business community during these unique times. And so what I'm going to do is I've got a short PowerPoint presentation just to help guide our conversation. Just get loaded up. So as Peter mentioned, my name is Tiffany Chu. I'm the Business Development Specialist. And with me is Stephanie Lum from our Recreation Division, because there are a couple of city programs that are available to our businesses depending where you are located in the city. So we've got 3 available. The first one is Commercial Use of City Parks Permit, Castor Streets Pilot Program, and the Outdoor Business Operations Pilot Program. So I first wanted to start off and hand this over to Stephanie to talk about what Community Services Department is doing with their parks.
So thank you, Tiffany. So again, my name is Stephanie Lum. I work with the Recreation Division. So we do have a program called Commercial Use Permits within the city, and it would be that you are looking to operate a class. These are usually geared towards personal training sessions, Pilates, yogas, classes, those that kind of require little to no setup. This is a program that we have had prior to the pandemic. It's something that we will offer post-pandemic as well. But basically, like I said, it is a program where you would want to operate your fitness class within a city park or trail. We do currently have kind of the guidelines are listed below. The permit fees with the application would be required, valid City Mountain View business license, as well as insurance. Right now, we do also have a COVID-19 waiver that we are asking all applicants to sign. That isn't available online, but if you do have further questions or if you go through the permit process, we will be able to provide that for you. Permit fees, they range anywhere from $10 an hour to $25 an hour, depending on the number of participants you're looking to hold in your class, with the maximum of 50. Due to just some of the COVID-19 guidelines, we are restricting, depending on the park space that you're looking to do, based off square footage. We would have to look at how many we can allow per park, but that would be a discussion that you, as the applicant, and I would have together to kind of figure out what would be the best space for you. We do ask that the application is submitted at least 14 days prior to the first desired rental date, just so we can smooth out any questions that you may have, any changes we might have to make based off location needs and sizes and things like that. But Tiffany provided here that the applications, and I will also put this in the chat as well, but Tiffany put on here that the applications are available at that website, so mountainview.gov/CUP. My email is listed there on the bottom, so if you have any questions or anything like that, you are more than welcome to reach out to me directly for that. Again, like I said, this is a program that we will continue to have post all COVID-19 as well. And just another opportunity that we do have for fitness studios and things like that is we do have a program where you could offer contract classes through the city. So we work off of basically a 70-30 split if you were to run programs within our facilities. or an 80-20 split if you wanted to run programs in your own facility. We would advertise your classes for you through our activity guide that gets published 4 times a year. And I would be your contact for that as well. But that is kind of another program that we do offer continuously if you were looking to expand your businesses as well.
Thank you.
I would say, like Tiffany, she might mention this.
Yeah.
I'm not available to stick around for questions, unfortunately, but like I said, I will put links into the chat for both the CUP as well as our contractor handbook, and then my email as well if you would like any further information moving forward.
Great. Is there any questions for Stephanie right now before she drops off?
If anyone has a question, you can just go ahead and raise your hand. That might be faster than typing out your question. And I'm not seeing any hands raised. But if they do come up with questions, they can totally email you, right?
Definitely, yes.
Awesome.
Yes. All right, thank you, Stephanie.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, moving on to the next 2 programs. So I want to talk about the Castor Summer Streets program. So the Castor Summer Streets program, which we are rebranding it, we're dropping summer because last week City Council approved continuation of the pilot program. So, and originally staff recommended that the program run through the end of the year. We're actually, City Council made an adjustment so that the program will continue until 14 calendar days following the termination of the city's declaration of emergency. This falls in line with some of our other programs, that COVID-related programs. So it provides like a nice continuity for the city once we reach the end of this pandemic. So at this point, we anticipate this going longer than the end of this year. You know, there is always the question of if a business were to, or sorry, if the declaration of emergency were to end, but then the social distancing still stays in place. I think that's where we would go back to council to discuss some additional recommendations. But the other big news is that additional businesses may participate in the program. So we're expanding this program to non-restaurant uses. This includes personal care, hair salons, barbershops, fitness uses. So we are in the process of updating our guidelines to allow these uses to operate on Castor Street. And these businesses will also be signing an updated agreement. Now, businesses who signed the agreement prior to this will not have to sign a new one. We're just asking that new businesses sign this in an agreement. And so I will be working with any businesses that are interested after we go through this presentation. And we're, like I said, we're updating the materials as well. So when the materials are up, we will be posting it on our website, and I'll drop this in the chat box as well, mountainview.gov/Castor Street closure, so that all the information sits there. And then I also wanted to talk more actually about the outdoor business operations pilot program. So this is a new pilot program that also was approved by City Council. As Peter mentioned, this is to allow businesses to operate outside on private property or authorized public property. Now, this program is meant for businesses outside of the Castor Streets pilot program. So this is more of a citywide approach. And we're actually calling it Outdoor Mountain View. And so like the Castor Streets program, the program will operate under the same time frame with that will run until the 14 calendar days after the city's termination of the city's declaration of emergency. But what this program is meant to do is to provide businesses with guidelines on how to operate outdoors. What do you need to operate outdoors? But the good thing is that we will not require a permit for businesses to apply to. We do ask that you get permission from your private property owner and also have a business license. And what I can do is let me just end my presentation and actually hop onto the city's website if that would be helpful, just to show you what it looks like, the guidelines. So hold on, sorry, just a moment while I pull up the guidelines.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. And while Tiffany's doing that, again, same thing. If anyone has a question, feel free to put it in the chat box or raise your hand and we will be able to call on you once it's time for that.
And so once again, this is applicable to businesses not participating in the Castor Streets pilot program. And so what these requirements outline is just some basic information about program requirements and approval, as I talked about, approval from your property owner, but then have an active business license. And then we talk about things that you will need to put in place while you're operating outdoors. And there's a lot of it's related to accessible path of travel from an accessibility standpoint. And making sure that if you're operating in the parking lot, how to keep the circulation and making sure that we keep spaces open in case of an emergency, but how to use the private property. And so we do ask that there's no more than a third of the total parking spaces are utilized by businesses on site. But then we also talk about, what can be done on the parking lot. So we are allowing shade structures, but it cannot exceed 100 square feet. And this is all in the guidelines. We do talk about lighting and electrical power. What about, and we address alcohol consumption, but also outdoor equipment, portable heaters. It's pretty in depth, but once again, the idea of this is to provide guidelines to the businesses so they can operate safely outdoors without having a permit. And so let me drop this link into the chat box so that you have this movie, so that you have it. Sorry. I can't do too many things at once. So that's
great, Tiffany.
So, and council also talked about how to work with the businesses as the weather continues to change, and that's one of the things that staff is talking about particularly for the downtown, is that one of the things we will be updating, switching back to the Castor Streets program, is that we will be allowing canopies because we recognize that once it begins to rain, even like today where there's a light drizzle, something like a canopy can at least support the businesses. And so we'll most likely be using the same language that was used in the outdoor operations guidelines and put it into the Castor Street guidelines. So there are some similarities that you see between the two programs, but then there are some specific differences between the two at the same time, because the Castor Streets program, what we're dealing with operating on the street versus the outdoor mountain view guidelines are for operating on private property. So with that being said, that is our program in a nutshell. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to help answer them.
Okay, well, first I wanted to give a thank you to Stephanie for being here today. I know you have to log off for your next meeting. Busy day. Good luck. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if anyone needs to get in contact with Stephanie, we will get you in contact with her. No worries. She's a great resource and great help at the city. So thank you for being here again, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
Stephanie.
And let's see here. So I guess the first question would be, what are the fees that are involved with this new with the new processes? Do the business have fees? How does that work?
There are for outdoor mountain view, there are no fees. We just ask that that they follow the guidelines, and of course you also need to adhere by all the public health orders that are in place too.
Okay.
And the ideal is, once again, we want to be supportive of the businesses. You know, we want to also be flexible, and we want to be supportive.
That's great. Thank you. That is such a huge help for businesses right now who, you know, even that slight fee could really put them behind, but thankfully there's no fee for this, so thank you. That's great. How quick is the turnaround for the permit or the waiver?
For Castor Street, the waiver applies to the Castor Streets pilot program. So we're updating that documentation today. So I see Jen on this I see Jen in the audience. Hi, Jen. So we'll contact you about the next steps and getting the agreement signed.
Okay, great. Let's see here. Am I responsible for keeping people who are not part of my class from wandering into our outdoor space? I guess if you could touch on the details of what you're in charge of as the business versus what people are supposed to be common sense thinking about.
I mean, what we've been working with the restaurants is making sure that they define the space. So we do ask that that the business define the space so that people know that the business is using the space. And we do have a pathway that walks through Castor Street, so that also helps define the space.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you.
And the way businesses are defined, restaurants have been defining the space, which I think we can work with the other uses. They've been using just extensions. Some have been using like the crowd control rope. Others have been using planters. We'll work with the businesses and talk with them about what they would like to do, and staff will help provide input. What we've been doing is once the agreement is signed, we meet with the businesses to have an active conversation with them in a meeting to answer questions and to come up with solutions.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. And we have another question. Does the city clean up leaves/trash on the street? Great question. Thank you.
So we do have Recology coming around to pick up trash from the trash bins, but that's actually something top of mind regarding the leaves. I noticed that on Monday when I walked through that we're coming into the fall season, so I do need to talk with our staff about how we're going to come through and sweep the leaves away. I know some business owners have been very helpful, and I think all the businesses who are participating in this program, that they've been very generous in helping us keep the street clean through the summer months. But we recognize that there's more leaves falling on the ground, so we'll have to address it. And that's the part. This is a pilot program, so staff is continuously making adjustments as we go through changes. And even when we started this program at the beginning, we made adjustments. So we recognize that even though we're going into this new phase where it's no longer Summer Streets Eats, it's really just Castor Streets, that adjustments will be made as they come along.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, this is definitely new territory for everyone. So just
Yeah.
everyone having an open mind and being open to, maybe something doesn't go perfectly the first time, but that's why it's great we have that flexibility to be able to change and improve as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Great thing to keep in mind.
And I think the important thing is adjusting
Mm-hmm.
to the changes, because it's not just what happens from a weather standpoint, but it's also adjusting to any changes to the public health orders.
So true. Sometimes it feels like it changes every hour. So we're always on our toes during this time.
Yes.
So if someone wanted to, they had suggestions or changes that they'd like to suggest, where would they go? Who would they
people can reach out to me. I think everybody knows how to reach me, but I can put my email address in the chat box. So yeah, I mean, once again, this is the pilot program. When council discussed this last week, there was a discussion about modifications can be made at the approval of the Public Works and Community Development Directors. So it's a joint decision between the two directors, because it allows us to be able to adjust and not wait to go back to council. We can be a little bit more fluid and be a little bit more flexible in how we are implementing this pilot program.
That's great. That's really great to hear. Let's see, we have one more question. I'm not a gym or fitness class. What if I want to conduct retail outdoors? Do I need to rope it off? Is there anything in the guidelines about that?
With retail, I think, I don't think you need to rope it off. I think as long as there is a clear definition of, what the space that you're operating in, then I think that's okay. I mean, you can, if you'd like, just to help define your space, but I don't think it's as necessary as what the restaurants are doing.
Okay, great. And should businesses sort of reserve spots, or is it first come, first serve? How is that kind of going to work?
So we do ask the businesses to work with each other, work with your neighbors, to figure out how the space is being divided up. So, for example, I know that Opal has allowed another restaurant to use the space in front of them. So we do ask that you all think about this from a block, from a bigger perspective, not just within your own business, but how to collaborate with your neighbors and with your block.
Definitely. Yeah, that for the most part it seemed to work when that system was in place for the Castor Street Eats. That was the first time a lot of businesses kind of just had to walk outside and work together and mark some spots. But hey, gotta do what you gotta do, and brought the neighborhood kind of together, in my opinion. So that was nice to see. Well, we were all wearing masks and being very safe from 6 feet apart.
And then I have a couple other reminders, is that we have placed additional traffic signage on Shoreline to redirect people to Castor Street, particularly as if you're going on Central Expressway, you come around the clover leaves and you go up or over the ramp, there's a sign that directs people to Castor Street. We've been also working with Google to make sure that the routes are being rerouted. And then also there is still short-term parking, 24-minute parking in all of our parking lots and structures except for the CVS, that's got half-hour parking, but we still have short-term parking for all our businesses to accommodate the takeout services.
Awesome. Thank you for those reminders. Let's see. We have one more question just came in. Are masks still required on Castro? I'm seeing more and more not wearing them while walking. So to my understanding, yes.
Yes. Yes, and I believe that's I want to say that's a county policy that that requires masks, and our parks department has also put out a campaign to mask up Mountain View. So we did add some messaging on the street, on Castor Street, and on the street literally itself, reminding folks to mask up. You actually see those signs citywide, so it's not just concentrated within the downtown. You see them all over the place, including like our trails and parks. So the city has been engaging in a campaign to remind folks to wear masks.
Can I just add to that real quick? And that is that there actually is both county policies and city policies in place that are very clear in terms of when you need to wear a mask and when you don't. However, the general sentiment is one of, think of it like a seatbelt. You know, you don't get in the car without fastening your belt. Don't think about going outside without a mask. One of the things the county has instituted as well is a fine system for both patrons as well as employees in terms of mask wearing, and that they will fine because of that. We had a back to business session on this a couple of weeks ago. I invite you to, we can repost that, of course, but I invite you to listen to it because the chief of police did a very good job, I think, of outlining what are the restrictions as well as, kind of how they are looking to inform rather than just, write a ticket, type of thing. It's a very cooperative effort. So thank you.
And I know several of our downtown businesses are selling masks, so ranging from therapy and other stores that are selling masks. So, you can easily find one. You can easily buy one in the downtown if you forget one, or if a customer forgets one.
Mask up Mountain View. I like that.
Mask up Mountain View.
Adorable. Well, with that, I hope we've answered any and all questions that have arisen right now. Peter?
Actually, I just would like to ask one more because I think it'll come up, Tiffany, and that has to do with electricity. Some of the businesses do want to have power at their place of doing business. So what are the restrictions on either running power cords or generators?
So I'm pulling up the guide. So are you asking about the citywide program? So this
yes,
applies to the citywide program. So so generators are not allowed, but we do state that power sources can't go over a pedestrian path of travel. So any electrical power source used for outdoors has to be rated for outdoor use and secured to the ground to prevent tripping hazards. So we do address that in the guidelines that I linked to, and I'll work with both of you. We'll do a follow-up with an email with all of the information.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I know there's
Thank you very much.
Now multiple programs available for businesses.
Definitely. I know the chamber we have, or what we use sometimes, they're like these large Duracell camping batteries, and those things are awesome. You charge them up, they hold a really long charge. They have USB, the normal 3-prong outlets, all that kind of stuff. So if anyone's looking for a portable, just large battery, camping batteries are the way to go. Just in the meantime, since sounds like generators aren't allowed, which is understandable. And with that, unless anyone has any other questions, I think we are good for today. Thank you so much, Tiffany. It's been a pleasure, as always, working with you and the rest of the city, working on getting back to business and getting adjusted to this temporary form of life until the pandemic passes. Peter?
I just want to thank Tiffany as well. Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you, Courtney, for all that you do. And again, I want to encourage all of our businesses to take advantage of these programs. We really are, the Chamber is working very closely with the city to do everything we can to make sure you can have as many operations going as possible, because we know how hard these times are. And we encourage you to come to more of the Back to Business sessions. We encourage you to come to the website. We encourage you to write with any questions or concerns you have, and we'll try to answer that. One thing I will add, and it's another plug for the city, is the city does have the Ask MV program, which is designed to have you write in and then have your question channeled to the right department. So some really useful tools.
Mm-hmm. And can I put in another plug? Okay. As next week, City Council will be discussing the Small Business Action Plan to support small businesses. So we've been working very closely with the Chamber and the Downtown Association and putting together recommendations that provides immediate assistance to our small businesses. So stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Again, thank you all for participating.
Thank you.